L'Oréal Paris với serum HA bán chạy số 1 thế giới. Nay giới thiệu serum mới dành cho mắt, chứa 2.5% HA và caffeine, thiết kế thanh lăng massage cho dưỡng chất thẩm sâu, căng mướt vùng mắt. 2 bước serum HA cho da căng mắt mướt. Thử ngay.
Chào bạn, biết bạn luôn hết mình nên chẳng thể tránh những lúc hết năng lượng tích cực. La Vi gửi bạn chút yên từ thiên nhiên, giúp tái tạo tâm trí và cơ thể. Bắt nguồn từ thiên nhiên trong lành, với vị thanh khiết và khoáng chất thiết yếu, điều mà nước tinh khiết thông thường không có. Nước khoáng thiên nhiên La Vi, chút yên từ thiên nhiên, cân trọn ngày náo nhiệt. Muốn trên tình bạn mà chưa dám ngỏ lời. Đã có close up thơm mát. Nạp 100% tự tin. Bật mốt thơm mát, tự tin ngỏ lời.
Mua ngay Nuvi, săn linh thú đổi siêu quà mùa 3. 24 thẻ nhận bóp viết siêu ngầu trị giá 79.000 đồng. 36 thẻ nhận hộp màu hành lý họa sĩ nhí trị giá 139.000 đồng. 48 thẻ nhận áo thun Nuvi Califa cực chất trị giá 199.000 đồng. 48 thẻ và một thẻ ba lô nhận ngay ba lô siêu cấp trị giá 599.000 đồng. Nạp Nuvi, săn linh thú đổi siêu quà.
L'Oréal Paris tạo ra serum HA bán chạy số 1 thế giới với macro HA và micro HA. Cấp ẩm tức thì, da căng mướt từ sâu bên trong. Thêm bước HA, làm da căng mướt, thử ngay.
là vì bò vui. Vẫy đuôi là bò vui thật, bò vui thật. Thì sữa ngon thật, sữa tươi Vinamilk 100%.
100%.
Sữa ngon thật, từ bò vui thật.
Sữa tươi Vinamilk 100%. Bò vui thật, sữa ngon thật.
Mụn, rửa mặt bằng nước muối hay dùng sữa rửa mặt đây? Đừng lo, vì đã có sữa rửa mặt ngừa mụn Thesalin, thành phần chứa BHA và chiết xuất từ thiên nhiên, loại bỏ dầu thừa, dịu nhẹ cho da. Thesalin giảm mụn dần sau 3 ngày.
Get through if we go on this way, and I can see all that's to do is fix our own mistakes. You want it, 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 you and me will never make it through if we go on this way. You and me will never make it through if we go on this way. And I can see all that's to do is fix our own mistakes. You and me will never make it through if we go on this way. And I can see all that's to do is fix our own mistakes. You want it, 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 you and me will never make it through if we go on this way. And I can see all that's to do is fix our own mistakes. You and me will never make it through if we go on this way. You and me will never make it through if we go on this way. And I can see all that's to do is fix our own mistakes. You and me will never make it through if we go on this way. And I can see all that's to do is fix our own mistakes. You and
L'Oréal Paris với serum HA bán chạy số 1 thế giới. Nay giới thiệu serum mới dành cho mắt, chứa 2.5% HA và caffeine, thiết kế thanh lăng massage cho dưỡng chất thẩm sâu, căng mướt vùng mắt. 2 bước serum HA cho da căng mắt mướt. Thử ngay!
Sau giờ học. Đến giờ vô. Sẵn sàng bắt lấy một cảm giác rất vô Moss.
làn da mềm mịn tựa cánh anh đào. Với sữa tắm dưỡng thể Dove mới, công thức có dưỡng chất hỗ trợ lợi khuẩn trên da, giúp cải thiện lớp giữ ẩm, cảm nhận làn da mềm mịn hơn tức thì sau mỗi lần tắm. Sữa tắm Dove hoàn toàn mới.
Heavy is the head that the crown sits soon. Feel it weighing down on my shoulders. Crews are meant to break, but the proudest ones. Money on my head, cause I'm lawless. Taking no relate, walking down this road. I don't relate, being the same, ain't no debate. Cause rules are meant to break by the proudest ones. Didn't do recon, but they wanna lead him and guide him straight and tip him off axis. I was in the belly of the beast, meanwhile they was cutting man deep like sickle or mantis. I've been winning off practice, not clout or digital captions. World's in madness, how am I gonna manifest greatness if I don't make actions? I don't need reasons, I just need money and power and stat lift. I don't wanna do it like that, that method's too underhanded. The big man said it ain't landing, never gonna profit off badness. Never got a dollar off sadness, but I've been sunk so I don't do sanctions. Heavy is the hit that the crown sees soon. Feel it weighing down on my shoulders. Rules are meant to break by the proudest ones. Money on my head cause I'm lawless. Taking over lit, walking down this road. We ain't the same, ain't no debate. Cause rules are meant to break by the proudest ones. Came in this game with a serious killing instinct, man, I never did courses. Look at all the times in the past they rejected him, now they wanna imitate patterns and forces. Stone eye vision like organs. Terrified look in his eye when he finally realised all of the weapons that he brought to the war ain't forming. I've been giving this heart and body and soul and mind and organs, knocked to my fingers bled. Now it's through skeleton keys and door kicks. Treading with means and caution, man, I had bellies to feed from morning. So if they start selling me dreams, I'm walking. Yeah. I was uncomfortable, man, I was scared. Looking for solace and they wasn't there. Now I'm a problem and they wouldn't dare. Yeah. Doubling down cause this game isn't fair. They loaded the dice, I came in prepared. Feeling it so out of body, I feel like I'm floating on air. How do you cope when they never gave you hope? Really left you in a cold, and it's weighing heavy on your soul. To be honest, I don't know. Either way, I had to grow. Get it together, whatever the weather, and carry that tribulation to the throne. Heavy is the head that the crown sees soon. Feel it weighing down on my shoulders. Rules are meant to break by the proudest ones. Money on my head cause I'm lawless. Taking over lit, walking down this road. I'm not late, we ain't the same, ain't no debate. Cause rules are meant to break by the proudest ones.
Vinamilk nha đam ít đường mới, ít đường thanh nhẹ, khỏe đẹp mỗi ngày.
跟奈特其实从很小的时候就认识了，然后那时候我们两个还没有成为职业选手，那时候只是在网吧相遇。
我和瑶瑶也是，就比赛上也会经常交流这种中单的细节吧，也是跟他搜罗过很多次，就在游戏上也会互相帮助的，就都会进步。
但是那个时候我就感觉到，我跟他以后一定会在顶峰相见的。想说。老弟已经让你赢了我3个 BO5了，这次决赛，哥哥就把冠军拿走了。
2017년에 롤드컵을 중국에서 하면서 많은 팬분들이 응원을 해주셨던 게 기억에 많이 남습니다. 그 이후로는 좀 되게 나는 뭔가 제가 좀 어쨌든 이렇다 할 막 성적을 많이 못 내가지고 저한테는 이번 MSI를 우승하게 된다면 룰러라는 선수가 좀 한 단계 더 성장하는 그런 계기가 될 수 있다고 생각하고.
It was
supposed to be EDG, it was supposed to be Gen G, it was supposed to be T1, but here at MSI, BLG stands strong.
可能有点金龟狗吧，但是我们知道我们最后一天会击败他们。我觉得那一天就是今天。
Bid going mega, finding one, uses an R of his own. Oh, Giga Bid, don't miss.
左手将引领未来。
My right hand will knock you out。
我们已经连续3次输给，我们连续输给3次京东 B5嘛，然后但是我觉得4不过3，这次我们一定赢。
I will become the king.
Are you ready for Giga Bean？
It is a monumental occasion for the LPL tonight, as they'll be crowning their 5th ever MSI champion, cementing themselves as the current best region in the world. Who will take it home today, JDG or the Cinderella story of BLG? Today we're gonna find out. My name is Shox and I'm joined by Azael, by Dagda, and by Chronicler for one last day in the Copper Box Arena. We are very sad to be leaving. I think that goes for all of us, but what a monumental few weeks it has been, Chronicler.
Yeah, it's been incredible seeing the rise and fall of, you know, some of the fan favorites, BLG's story coming out of nowhere and surprising everyone. It's been an incredible few weeks, and I can't wait to see who wins tonight.
It's been so much fun, and let's go down memory lane just a little bit. I'd love to know what your favorite moments have been, Dagda.
Yeah, I think because I've been here since play-ins, it's been super cool to see teams like Loud and R7 get their first international series win, especially when you look at Loud, the fact that they had Root and Seos come in and absolutely have incredible moments in this tournament. I had my eyes on Seos, especially since he played with Brunsa back in the day, and then seeing R7 really step up as well. I think it's so cool to see the LLA and CBLOL finally getting to make their mark on the international stage.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's amazing, and we love seeing their development. And also, we need to call out, you know, despite historically not getting all those results internationally, their communities are so incredibly alive. I mean, I think CBLOL is one of the funnest leagues to watch, even if we don't understand anything, and everyone is so excited.
Yeah, and it really highlights the passions of the fans and how much it means to them to be able to show up on the MSI stage as well, right? These moments really mean a lot to them, and seeing the previously unseen levels of success was really, really boon for that community.
Well, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about the format is we're getting to see more regions have these best of series and be able to really show what they have, be able to actually compare these regions better, especially in the earlier stages of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we can say is the tournament format is harsh on everyone, and maybe surprisingly also on the LCK Chronicler.
Yeah, we got to talk about it, you know, because it was coming into the tournament. Of course, LPL is the big king of MSI, but the level of performance, particularly against BLG from the LCK teams, I think came to many as a surprise. They were completely unable to stand up, and as an LCK fan, I think you gotta try and take these lessons, right? If you're one of the players, try and see if you can adapt. MSI always is so quick and vicious, and it really feels like the LCK has a hard time adjusting. With Worlds, you're gonna have more time, but you gotta actually make use of it. And I think that's what they're gonna be looking towards as we head towards summer, because this MSI, one that LCK fans, and me included, maybe want to forget as soon as possible.
Maybe, but maybe you gotta remember it so you can go for revenge at Worlds. You have
absolutely.
to. Because Azael, you know, UNNA, do we want to talk about it?
I mean, it was rough for us as well, but there were some bright spots. You know, I think for EU, Yike really stood out to me. He's so incredible. To have him here at his first international tournament and be a standout for the team, you know, that has all these veterans on it was so impressive to me. And I think for NA, you know, the big bright spot that I was looking at was actually Golden Guardians as a big surprise. And Licorice, who had such an incredible tournament. We saw him taking down so many players, really performing well in lane. We saw him get a solo kill on 369, which was really impressive. He solo killed Fudge as well. And there was also a lot of kind of confusion online about, you know...
Yeah, I saw that.
Who he actually solo
Yeah,
killed.
like who he had solo killed. And people were thinking he hadn't solo killed Bin, but we actually do have photo evidence of
him
this.
solo killing Bin.
Definitive
There we go.
proof.
That's
of
real.
him
Yeah.
solo killing
100% real.
There we go. So real.
True and real. Solo killed them all. So
Can't
wanted
fake that.
wanted to clear this up for everyone.
I also love it because it's become such a marker of if you're doing well. Have you solo killed Bin or not? And I've just loved everything about Bin in this tournament. It's been non-stop, right, Dagda? Such a big personality, not only on the Rift, but also next to it.
Yeah, and I think it's been incredible to get him actually able to show that personality as well, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen it for so long in the LPL. The trash talk videos between him and 369 for finals were incredible, which was like, hey, look, I solo killed you in lane, I'm going to absolutely destroy you. And now we're getting to see that on the main stage as well. Even the fact he stepped up to do interviews in English as well, like he is really getting to show his personality, and it's fantastic to see.
I mean, it's been amazing, and it's also good to remember that he's a defending MSI champion on a different team, but he has a chance to actually repeat and become the first person to ever do that on 2 different teams, which is just insane.
It's absolute insanity, and the last thing I want to bring up is just this is the first time we've seen this new MSI format in action. I'm happy about the League of Legends we've seen, and I know, some series notwithstanding that we would have seen, like to go see to 5 games instead of a 3-0 stomp, but overall it's been really, really entertaining, and you can only admit that it is the best teams in the final because it leaves no room for error.
Yeah, and it also, if you take it away, like imagine how different tournament perception would have been, right? It would have been T1 against JDG, and then we never would have seen what BLG were able to when they were with their backs against the wall. And that level of development, I think, is a really big testament to how successful the format has been.
I mean, I think it's a great point, right? People would be talking about, JDG T1 was the real finals, but now we know it's BLG.
It is. Well, thank you so much for walking down memory lane, and we're going to add one big memory to that today as well. But first, let's take a look back.
Laura Paris tạo ra serum HA bắn chạy số 1 thế giới với macro HA và micro HA. Cấp ẩm tức thì da căng mướt từ sâu bên trong. Thêm bước HA, làn da căng mướt, thử ngay.
Pops the hammered path and will be able to escape, and in the end, the Super Mega Death Rocket finds the Gnar, finds the kill.
It is a rule of League of Legends.
Let's go the rules! Through the roar!
Krakopa! Let's go, Krakopa! I kind of want Lucian on me. You want? Sounds fun, yeah.
Does he have the bubble? We're ready to go. It's EW sticks it. Instantly going in, and there it is.
And Sean has taken away these clips onto Bin. They're looking for an engage. Bin with the ultimate of the Aphelios means everybody is turned to dust. As you can see, the Aphelios, the Ari, they're all going crazy. And Rout will clean them all off. Loud are in London and they're here to play.
Gamma destroyed underneath their own nexus. Stixie's with the Quadra. Stixie manages the pentakill.
The charm is Caps flashes, Chovy flashes. And take a few Caps, because church is in session.
Fake against another. Niski uses the Hourglasses to buy some time. But Guma has done it once again.
Okay, guys, it's time to redeem ourselves.
Let's get it, boys. Yet another reverse sweep.
Maybe Niski can solo go fake it for once.
All out under the tower. The third proc in the queue. Flashed away from underneath the tower and flashed. 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
Oh, you
managed to get the body slam down. First kill secured for both bot laners.
M&S now running, M&S the chains have connected. They're trying to finish it off. Bin, snip, finds one.
You know what? They want to try and get this turn soon, but the knock up on Zeus, he's taking so much damage here from JDG. But it's a phenomenal ult from Ona, and they will secure the Baron. Now just trying to fight the Poppy. Chovy, though, is going to make his way through. Faker's still alive for the moment. He'll survive.
Really took really fast decisions. Let's think more.
They found Ruler. They're going to go after more. And Golden Guardians just killed everybody.
You beautiful bastards, you're doing it! Holy guys, we're doing it! JDG have to retreat. 369 giving his life, diving in to try to keep the rest of the team ready. But the charm is massive.
Here to start using his dashes there on his ulti. Flashes away from the seismic shove. Gory is taken low. Berserker wins the fight.
Ruler still untouched. Now gonna land the hook, but the follow-up isn't quite there. Bin finally leaping in. They're trying to kill him, but they can't do it. Ruler, are you kidding me?
Just run. I can go. Go. Nice, go. Zeri. Go flash. Zeri, go flash. Go.
Missing goes over the wall into the brush. He tries to get away. The grand entrance is shut down. Hurricane! Fudge gets a solo kill in the top lane. Right between the eyes. As Berserker beautifully spaces out Huhi and shows why he's the best AD carry in North America.
Side the pitch to have secured a McCann. They finish the fight.
Oh my God.
Vigil has done so much damage.
Go. Nice. Wait. Hey, Affiliates no team. We win.
This is Dropper. Knockback flanks on two fronts. Elk! What was he doing there? Flank angle, and again, that is YT1.
Oh, that's a flash. Tim is massive wombo combo. And immediately the Thresh is going to go down as well. Moonlight Vigil is kind of massive, but Roller's going to take down Faker. Zeus is huge, but he's dead. And it's a double kill for the Jinx. Zeus is massive in this fight. That's true. Faker somehow manages to curve the anchor. And it's a double kill now for Zeus, but the re-engage is gigantic.
Owner into the backside. Owner fishing for an angle. The immediate knock with the immediate follow, but Elk is still standing for now. Elk just does so much damage. T1 shot their shot, but I don't think it's going to be enough because at the end of the day, BLG are taking the fight. They are too damn strong. BLG take care of both LCKC. It was supposed to be EDG. It was supposed to be Gen G. It was supposed to be T1. But here at MSI, BLG stands strong in defiance of all expectations. They move to the final.
Cùng selfie nhé. Ok, tóc gãy rụng nữa rồi. Nắng gió khiến tóc yếu và gãy rụng đó. Nhưng đừng lo, Sensil ra mắt dòng dưỡng nang gãy rụng mới với tinh chất bưởi 100% từ thiên nhiên, giàu vitamin C, giúp nuôi dưỡng cho tóc giảm gãy rụng gấp 2,5 lần. Sensil Natural mới.
Indeed, it was supposed to be so different, but it isn't. And that video of Tabe, I think, is one of the best videos we've had in so long at an international tournament.
It's heartwarming, right? Like the amount of passion that's showing. It's really one of my favorite moments of the tournament. He just wants to get to his players so badly here. Even Doran, who just got demolished, can't help but like giggle as he sees Tabe running around.
I mean, it's just amazing. You know, even during the games when they would show the coaches' reactions to plays, he is popping off every single time something goes well for BLG.
Absolutely.
And it's incredible to see from a guy as well who's like been around in the LPL for so long, right the way back in RNG with like Tabe and White's not bot lane. Like that passion still thrives for this man.
Yeah, Jat shared the photo yesterday, I believe, or 10 years ago. I was interviewing this guy already. He is such a monument, and it's awesome to see that in this storied and long career, this is the level of success that he's still getting, you know, winning MSIs back-to-back, now looking for his third with BLG. And I think when you take into account the story behind BLG, it's easy to see why Tabe would be so emotional and so emotive in that moment. They were not supposed to be here. None of this was supposed to happen. They've defied every single expectation about them in this tournament.
But nothing about this entire roster is the way that it's supposed to be. When you think of BLG in the past, this was a team that was slow. They had Coach Kim who came over from T1. They had a very LCK-esque style was what we called it. But this time around, they're playing this hyper-aggressive style. They were the team that spent a boatload of money to get players like Uzi, like Fofo, to make these super teams. And this time around, they said, you know what, we're going to go with guys who are going to fifth in their role. They're not going to be absolutely amazing. And they ended up fifth in the region as well. But then that was when the mega run started, when they ran right the way from fifth. They beat teams like EDG. They put themselves into finals. They got themselves to MSI. They've defied everyone the entire way along.
And you can't help but draw the parallels, including a birthday win, right? When everyone came on stage for On, just like last year with DRX. The run that that team made was the same, not just because of all the parallels, right? Seen as the underdog, seen as the weakest of all teams, a fourth seed from the LCK, barely made it, weren't supposed to be there. But also the fact that that DRX roster, at no point would I have told you that they were going to do well. And Emily and Rob and any LPL analyst must know, BLG, they're not going to get there.
A little bit of doubt. Little bit of doubt.
But it's cool, right? Because I think these are some of the greatest stories that you can have in sports, full stop. And we're seeing it happen in front of our eyes again. And we learned no lessons from DRX, apparently.
I mean, it's amazing, right? You know, but you have to wonder, is it the DRX fairy tale ending, or is it the Suning story, right? Because Ben had already been there at Worlds, where he got that finals. They made made that miracle run where no one thought they were going to be able to accomplish that, and then they were not able to get it done at the very end.
I'm so happy that you brought up Ben. I mean, we talked about him a little at the start of the show as well, but he sent out a tweet before they were about to play Gen G.
Profit
laying
Ben?
out what we can expect. 3-0 Gen G happened. 3-1 T1 just yesterday. And for today, he's saying, hey, we're going to win again, and it's going to be Silver Scrapes. I mean, I believe the guy. I mean, how can you not?
I mean, with that level of confidence, you know, he's willing it into existence. And I think the 3-0 Gen G prediction was the one where you're like, okay, Bin. You know, it's
Calm
just
down,
Bin.
Bin.
Calm
All
down.
right,
It's
yeah.
just Bin being Bin. But then they smashed it, right?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, hold up. And then the T1, they went up 2-0, and they were like, hey, we'll let Cassante
Wait.
through. We got to get the prediction right. And then they smashed him, right? And I mean, coming into the tournament, I would have not believed at all. But now,
I mean, you kind of have to start believing,
Right?
right? Like, and the guy has such a massive amount of confidence that it's really kind of rubs off on you. Like, maybe he is right? You know, he's giving interviews talking about, what's the top lane meta? Top lane meta is whatever I pick, right? You know, it's like, well, what do you think about these champions? Well, I don't care what anyone else thinks. I think it's good. You know, it's just like, he is just so much confidence, so much of that personality.
Bravado.
It's so much fun to watch.
I mean, even against Gen G, he was like, I'm going to win the top lane, then I'm going to go mid, I'm going to beat Chovy as
Also
well.
beat him.
And then he tried to do it against T1. Didn't look so great, but he still tried it, you know?
I mean, we'll get into it in just a second, but of course, with 369 in that region as well, and their careers running parallel next to each other, this is something that he has had to deal with as well. And today we get to see the top lane matchup again.
and it really is about the transition that Bin has made, right? We keep going back to it, but him being able to force almost everyone in this tournament, BLG specifically as a team, to play carries topside when it seemed like a week or two into the tournament, like it was all about exclusively team fighting, so we saw the Ornn and the Sion, is crazy.
So much to look out for, and before we get further into the nitty-gritty of today's grand finals, let's send them down to stage for Lore with a special interview with Riot's very own Naz Alata and John Needham.
Thank you so much, Sharks. I'm here on stage with John Needham, President of Esports at Riot Games, and Naz Aleta, Global Head of League of Legends Esports. It's an honor being with you guys on stage. How are you doing?
Awesome. Happy Finals Day.
Happy Finals Day. Naz, how are you?
We're just so excited to be here on this stage in particular. It's great.
It's been an amazing event so far, and we've been blessed with a new format after years of the same MSI format. How has it been for you guys enjoying having two teams for the main region and a different setting for MSI?
Yeah, you know, we're really, really thrilled with the overall format. We wanted to make MSI more competitive. We wanted to bring more series play to the event. And we wanted to make sure every match was going to count. And I think this MSI has definitely done that. I think we've had some incredible series between the best teams in the world, and I think today's going to be one of those.
Yeah, fans seem super happy. Viewership's up, so I'm very happy with the format.
We're all happy, and we have two amazing teams for finals
Incredible.
today, JDG, BLG, and your thoughts on the journey these two teams had, different stories for them, and yeah, the fact that we're going to have them for finals today, Naz.
Well, I mean, talk about defy overall, defy expectations, defy the limits. I think BLG's run has just been absolutely incredible, you know, to be 5th in the regular season and fight their way to the top of the LPL, coming here as their 2nd seed and fighting their way to this stage today. I think it's been an incredible story to follow.
Yeah, we'll see if they can get their revenge today.
That's right.
Yeah, JDG has been so strong this tournament. I don't know. I think it's going to be JDG, but we'll see.
For the 3rd time, I mean, these teams know each other. We'll see if they can. BLG can defy expectations once again here. I have to say, the stage looks amazing. I'm really glad to be here in Europe and especially in London. Any thoughts of having organized the MSI in London and in the UK, Naz?
Well, our partners, the City of London, has just been incredible. I think the crowd, the fans here have just been next level. You know, we've seen fans show up for CB Law, for LLA, for NA, for EU, LCK, LPL. It's truly been amazing being here in London.
I used to live in London for 2 years, and I haven't been back until this tournament, so it's been awesome to be back. Love this city. You forget how international this city is, and yesterday at the match, was just really struck by it. The fans were just going crazy. There are tons of LPL and LCK fans. It's awesome.
I mean, that's the thing. So often you have fans from all around the world coming here to enjoy these events. I did not expect to have such an insane crowd here, Naz. Have you been surprised by what the fans have given us so far?
It's just the fans blow us away, I think, every single time. They never disappoint. They have brought so much energy and hype to every single match. I mean, it has been loud in here for the last couple of days especially, and I'm sure today is going to be the best yet.
Wait until we have the win moments.
That's right.
End of the day. Any spoilers for the opening ceremony, maybe? I got a glimpse of the rehearsals earlier. I don't want to say too much, but anything you can share with the audience?
Yeah, you know, all I will say is that it will be the ultimate expression of the event. So you can expect us to really bring together the sport, the players, Ink Shadow, the anthem, to really hype everyone who's watching and to really honor the moment.
Nas has been so tight-lipped. I don't even know what's happening in the OC, so it's going to be a surprise for all of us.
It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on stage ahead of the series.
Thank you.
Happy Finals Day.
Happy
Finals Games.
Day.
And that's all for us here on this side of the stage. We'll be right back for the rest of Countdown right after this.
Sầu vì da dầu, mụn. Đừng lo, một bước trước một cùng serum Garnier giúp ngăn ngừa và giảm mụn với 4% hoạt chất hỗ trợ giảm dầu và bã nhờn, hiệu quả giảm tới 90% nhân mụn. Garnier, thêm bước serum trước mụn một bước.
Mua ngay Nuvi, sân linh thú đổi siêu quà mùa 3. 24 thẻ nhận bóp viết siêu ngầu trị giá 79.000 đồng. 36 thẻ nhận hộp màu hành lý họa sĩ nhí trị giá 139.000 đồng. 48 thẻ nhận áo thun Nuvi Califa cực chất trị giá 199.000 đồng. 48 thẻ và một thẻ ba lô nhận ngay ba lô siêu cấp trị giá 599.000 đồng. Nạp Nuvi, sân linh thú đổi siêu quà.
Yeah, the same, ain't no debate. Cold rules are meant to break by the power. Get it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Copper Box Arena as we are counting down towards our opening ceremony and the start of JDG versus BLG. Maybe an unlikely road that they found themselves in these finals, but that doesn't make us any less excited. It is interesting, though, that they have played each other so much this year. Actually, JDG is 11-4 versus BLG, and it's their 4th best of 5.
I mean, these teams are so familiar with each other, right? You know, it's 3 best of 5s they've already played. This will be their 4th today. They played a BO3 in the regular season as well, and JDG won every single one, and the best of 5s have gotten more and more one-sided. Started 3-2, went 3-1 in the finals, and then 3-0 here at MSI.
Yeah, it actually got worse and worse, and JDG themselves talked to us well about the first round that they played in playoffs, where they were still getting a feel for the meta. They had also, up until that point, not played a series, and we often see that teams need some time to adjust, but then as they got more and more adjusted, it got harder and harder for BLG.
Yeah, and I think that was the big thing, was that BLG actually felt the need to adjust. You talked about them, how they needed to change their draft strategies coming into MSI as a result of what JDG had done to them. So I'm very excited now to see today how they do actually manage to adjust in that draft to set themselves up for success against what's been such a big adversary for them.
Yeah, you could see it any of 2 ways in terms of JDG, of course, coming in with a lot of confidence, knowing we know you like the back of our hand. But BLG saying, okay, well, we trained against you a lot, and this is the moment that we can prove that we can take you down. Now, what has been the name of the game this MSI? Team fighting. It's been so much fun, and it won't be different today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, team fighting has been the name of the game, and to me, JDG have been the kings of team fighting. So I had a couple clips I wanted to go through just to talk about some of the things that have really, really impressed me. This is actually from a fight between JDG and BLG earlier at MSI. The key thing I really want you to pay attention to is how all the JDG members will mark and peel different members on the BLG side. So keep your eyes over here on Ruler. Ruler is going to be that key member pretty much as always in the team fight. It's an RE Vi here for BLG, and they're going to be looking to try to dive him. So as Shun goes forward, in comes the ulti. Now watch what the response is going to be here from JDG. Kanavi right here in the pit, he's going to be moving to actually mark Yagao. We're seeing 369, he's already marking Bin, and Knight as well as Missing are going to move to actually mark these 2 members. So as we roll forward, watch how fast this comes in. Instant flash twisted advance here from the Maokai onto the RE, blocks the charm. Here comes Knight pushing forward, W stun on both members there, and is actually going to flip them in. 369 already waited out the parry, stunned out on the Fiora. Everyone is getting marked simultaneously and completely shutting down the dive to build this space for Ruler. And we know what happens when Ruler gets space, he takes over the fight. And it's just so impressive to me how, whether they're going to be diving, whether they're going to be playing defensively, they're really setting up their AD for success incredibly, incredibly well. So I'm going to jump out into another clip. This is one where they're playing it out a little bit differently. You know, it's not always that they're peeling back for Ruler. They're really going to base it on the momentum of the fight and base it on those opportunities. In this one, you really want to keep your eyes here on 369. He's actually playing the Gragas. He's snuck around. He actually body slammed over the wall right here. And now he's trying to play around vision. They have an idea that there could be a ward here, and he's going to be looking to try to avoid it. So in this fight, it's really all about Guma Yushi. They're going to see this opportunity as 369 is sneaking around the side here to go for Guma. Notice as T1 is actually trying to engage, everyone peels back here on the JDG side, Ruler just avoiding the Maokai twisted advance, and in comes 369. And as soon as he sees his opportunity here to actually jump in on T1's AD, it is a body slam flash, and everyone is immediately going to be following up on it. Ruler stepping forward to fire here. Knight is actually coming in from the side as well. Missing is piling in. Everyone is going to be looking to jump in onto T1's AD and immediately burst him down. And then as soon as he's done, again, it's a swap in priorities. It's now, okay, we've killed the enemy AD. We're all going to have to move back and protect Ruler. Everyone peeling back to get onto Zeus, who's playing this Gwen, and really take him out. And I just think it's so interesting to watch how they team fight and how they're really just one cohesive unit. It feels like it's one mind playing 5 characters at times in these fights because they all know exactly what their role is at any given moment, and they perform it flawlessly.
I also think, as you're highlighting Azil, that being able to play different style of compositions means that you have so much more room in draft. I think LPL teams in general have had a really good meta read here, but given the fact that you could either put 369 on something like a Cyan, where he is just pure frontline, but also put him in a Gragas, where he will find those flanks and make the enemy backline scared at any given point, makes them such a hard team to draft against.
And I think it's so incredible to see the growth that we've had from 369 and from Knight. When you think back onto top esports in 2020, there was a massive joke that, well, top esports don't know how to engage, so they just play long range. And a huge amount of this was 369 not being able to facilitate that, Knight not understanding his role. But now that they've come across the JDG, they look like entirely new players. And it's that growth that is making JDG such a deadly team.
Yes, I've always been a little bit annoyed that when sometimes we talk about, myself included, about LPL teams in the past, we talk about there's crappy style and they bring you down to their level. No, you have to step up to theirs because they are so insane in team fights. And one of my questions is, of course, the meta was always going to favor what we see, plays a part. There are other teams that also play very bot heavy and protect the ADC since the dawn of League of Legends. But is it because the LPL was so incredibly strong at playing this that they have formed the rest of the tournament to make them play their style?
I think so, right? I think that the people who are at the top of the table, who are actually leading the way, do kind of dictate the meta, right? They are showing you the best way to play League of Legends right now. It is getting your AD ahead. It is protecting them in that team fight. And if you have Ruler, he is definitely worth protecting. If you have Elk, he is definitely worth protecting.
Absolutely so. It'll be so interesting to see how today's LPL top lane titans will impact the team fights as 369 and Bin are facing off in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
It is clear that the rivalry between Bin and 369 has shaped the way they play as top laners, and may indeed be the reason why these two are facing each other in the finals today. They have faced the best in every other region, and found that only in the old rivalry from the LPL can they truly find the best challenge.
Bin's behind. Winter's Blade is there, and Ben's coming around. Snip, snip. They force him to go gold, and they shut him down with Ben.
369. Yeah, he is going to flash in. Doesn't manage to get the body slam onto both of them, but it's still going to be fine. The Jinx is taken down, and Carrier just going to vacate the area.
But only one of them will truly be labeled as the best top laner in the world. 369 and JDG were able to win the last time these two faced off, but Bin was able to provide the hope of a comeback for BLG.
It was supposed to be EDG, it was supposed to be Gen G, it was supposed to be T1, but here at MSI.
Bò được chăm lo, thế nên bò vui, bò vẫy cái đuôi, là vì bò vui. Vẫy đuôi là bò vui thật, thì sữa ngon thật, sữa tươi Vinamilk 100%. 100%. Sữa ngon thật, từ bò vui thật.
Sữa tươi Vinamilk 100%, bò vui thật, sữa ngon thật.
BLG stands strong in defiance of all expectations.
There is no lower bracket for anyone to fall back on now, and no excuses left. Will 369 finally win his first international title, or will Bin defend his? It's time for the featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Let's get it. I mean, we've talked so much about bot lane prowess in general, but these are two teams that also just curb the meta to what they want to do. And since we're starting in the top lane, I think we have a visual aid.
Yes. Me and Rob will do this together.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. So,
What
are
we
you
have
gonna
here?
do?
What we have here is a visual aid to showcase as we get through every matchup. Where do we think the advantage lies?
To hold you accountable.
Exactly.
I like it.
No backpedaling.
Don't like that. Don't like that.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And also, we also have our faces.
Great.
Coincidentally, mine kind of mimics how I felt watching yesterday's series. But Rob, as you can see,
Well, I'm the LPL rep, so I'm very happy. I'm incredibly
I
happy.
thought you were in the U. I see you jump sides depending on who wins.
Look, my
Classic.
loyalty's easily bought, you know.
All right, stake your mark, lads.
So let's start with top lane then. Where do you think it's going to go, and who has the best chance?
you get to go first.
Or actually, who's going to make the difference today? That's the context.
This is where I think the most interesting conversation is, because I think when you look at like in lane, I would definitely give it to Bin. I think Bin has been absolutely incredible in actually getting these advantages and putting 369 in his place. But when it starts to teeter in towards the later team fights, that's where I think it starts to become a much bigger win for 369. But as Azale rightly pointed out, his team fighting has been absolutely impeccable.
I mean, he's been on top. I'm not going to put it so far over on 369. I think it's actually pretty even, because I do think that Bin is just such a different style, right? You know, 369 is about playing weak side. Often they're not playing towards him. You know, Shun is going to be playing more heavily towards Bin, getting him ahead. I do think Bin is a monster on carries, but I think that the team fighting side, you know, is definitely to 369, and he has really been able to answer him well historically. So I do think it's a pretty even matchup.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo, so I'm gonna nestle myself right right beside him.
Don't
Because
want
I
to
do agree.
upset
I
the
also,
apple cart.
the main thing to me is that I think that the bin that we're seeing at this tournament is not the same bin that we saw domestically, right? I think that he has really shown that as much as we talked about it, 369 and them trash talking one another, and bin playing side immediately in solo queue, we've actually seen the impact of this. He has actually been able to be more versatile and not just carry on carries.
But that's the thing, is that the fact that we've had bin who's managed against 369 in their series to get solo kills, to get these advantages, it's been about trying to translate them into team fights, and that's where these carries haven't been able to fully perform, and that's where we've actually seen the adjustment, as Chronicler was saying, the shift towards tanks, towards Scions. These were things that have been picked up after being beaten by 369 and has added another layer to the armor and the repertoire that BLG are bringing. So this is going to be the big curiosity for me. What side do we see bin go towards? I'm sure he's going to bring out carries at least once, and I hope he does get to have that performance.
Yeah, I guess the big question is if bin can step on stage here as a complete player, a more complete player than he was before this will heavily increase the chances coming out of BLG. But we followed Bin's story so far here, and he's learning English because he watches a lot of WWE, so we found it fitting to make some graphics. And well, yesterday, Zeus is in the pile now too, I guess.
He's just adding to the pile game after game after game, dunking on top laners left and right. But this does not tell the story of the LPL. Like we said, they have actually fought against each other, already have 4 series, and 369 came out on top in all 4 of those. He's going to be looking to put bin in the bin today and make it 5 for 5 on the year.
That's so cool. I heard that it made it all the way to Weibo and like the Chinese community as well, that they love the memes, and we know they do. But it's true, even though it's a meme image, it does reflect what we expect to happen here today, either of those.
Even though I think the individual performance and early laning leads don't matter as much, as Azil was pointing out earlier, the way that your top laner is able to either create space for your AD carry or set up team fights is still extremely pivotal. And if you're not able to deliver on that part, you're not going to be able to get a win.
Definitely so. Well, to introduce our first mid laner today, here's Emily with a finals edition of Draw My Life on JDG's Night.
Draw My Life, Night. Zhou Knight Ding began his pro career on Young Miracles, an LSBL team well known for scouting strong talent. Knight was known pre-debut as a mid-lane prodigy in solo queue. He initially wanted the name Knight and then added the K without knowing that it too was an English word. The prodigious mid laner is from the same city as Yagao. They once played on the same Netcafe team and have now met in the LPL finals multiple times. Knight was nicknamed the Golden Left Hand by Chinese casters for his mechanical prowess and the fact that he is left-handed. Knight's parents are both very supportive of his esports pro career. His father teaches the game of Go, and he also won some Age of Empires competitions himself. Knight has been to LPL finals 5 times since 2020 and now has 2 LPL titles, including the most recent one.
Chào bạn, biết bạn luôn hết mình nên chẳng thể tránh những lúc hết năng lượng tích cực. La Phi gửi bạn chút yên từ thiên nhiên, giúp tái tạo tâm trí và cơ thể, bắt nguồn từ thiên nhiên trong lành với vị thanh khiết và khoáng chất thiết yếu, điều mà nước tinh khiết thông thường không có. Nước khoáng thiên nhiên La Phi, chút yên từ thiên nhiên, cân trọn ngày náo nhiệt.
Known for his strong domestic performances for years, Knight has now brought them to the international stage at 2023 MSI.
Thank you so much, Emily. I believe, Dagda, you actually said something when we talked about him being the left-hand king.
Yeah, the reason he was called the golden left hand is because he'd actually swap his hands across. So he'd play with his right hand across his body, playing on the keyboard, and his left hand over his body on the opposite side, playing with the mouse. And he played like that from the start, yeah, until he actually started to get the equipment that was useful for him. But
That's unbelievable. Yeah. We drew the comparisons the last couple of days about DRX. You know, we had the story of Deft and Faker attending the same school. Here's a similar story for Yagao and Knight as well in the same Netcafe. But I want to focus in on kind of the competitive element and how these two have developed both domestically and on the international plane.
For me, the most important is that Knight has been hyped up as a player that could be one of the best mids in the world, right? For years, we've been hearing the stories, and domestically, we have actually seen that he's been able to live up to that expectation. But I think this MSI, we are truly seeing what this player is capable of. Insane carry performances in almost every single game that we've seen of him.
I mean, he's an absolute beast individually. And I do think he really does deserve the credit for that. But Yagao, on the other side, I think is deserving of a lot more credit than people have been giving him, right? You know, people coming in MSI were saying, all right, sure, yeah, maybe you're a top 4 team because you're in the LPL, but this guy is going to get clapped by Faker. He's going to get clapped by Chovy. He's going to get clapped by Knight. And it has not been the case. He plays his role so well. And in this meta where it's not just about mid lane carries, it's about how you facilitate and enable your team, how you create space for your ADs in a team fight. Yagao has been more than equal to the challenge. He was outperforming both Faker and Chovy in back-to-back victories over the LCK teams.
And also specifically for Yagao versus Knight. Yagao, as we kind of saw in that story, like Yagao beat Knight to be the mid laner on their hometown team. And it's always kind of been the demon on Knight's shoulder, where he hasn't always been able to overcome Yagao. Yagao's actually had the better side of that matchup when they've met traditionally, and Knight hasn't performed to the level that we expect when he's set up against Yagao. So certainly when I look at this, I think we'll have to see, especially as they know each other so incredibly well. Yagao sometimes just has that edge against Knight, and we'll have to see if he can do it here again.
Now, after singing all of Yagao's praises, I think it is very Knight favorite.
I'm just gonna. I don't want to seem like I'm.
Are you just covering Azel's face every time?
Knight has just been so good this tournament, and this guy has been impressing me for years and years regionally. You know, I first really started to watch him because of his Syndra play, and that is what I kind of fell in love with. You know, for this player, he is just built different on the carries, and I do think he can actually facilitate and play multiple different styles and roles, which is, I think, what gives him that big edge over Yagao, who I don't think can take over a game in the same way that Knight can.
Yeah, I think especially when you're looking at the meta the way it is, it's kind of hard not to give it to Knight. I'm going to go a little bit more this way, just because Yagao does have this secret special weapon against Knight. I'm not sure what it is, but I definitely do think when we come into this Knight, the matchups that he has, how good he's been, and the fact we're finally getting to see this guy in the international stage perform. This is what people have been touting about in the LPL for so long, and finally we're getting to see it on the international
I'm seeing a trend. I really am. And I know we've undervalued everyone on BLG and BLG every single time, and I didn't think it was going to change.
The parts. It's fine.
Is that what you're going to say at the end?
It's
no,
fine.
but obviously fair in your analysis, because that is the expectation that we have. So many interesting matchups, not in the least in the bot lane, because Ruler has a chance to solidify himself as one of the all-time greats today. Let's take a look at his story.
Đồ Hair Therapy mới, kem xả serum 2 trong 1, giúp người dưỡng đến tầng tế bào của tóc. Mua ngay!
Of all the players in the world, few are as closely associated with one team than Ruler on Gen G, formerly known as Samsung Galaxy. Let's look back at the journey of one of the best players of all time. His career started back in 2016 on a team called Stardust in Challengers Korea. From there, we got the move that would define the next years for both Ruler and Samsung Galaxy as he joined the org in May of 2016. Although Samsung was still experimenting with Stitch and Wraith, it was in 2016 that Ruler joined a fairly freshly role-swapped Core JJ in the bottom lane, and unbeknownst to us, would create one of the most formidable late-game duos the LCK has ever seen. Worlds 2016 was the tournament that introduced the bot lane duo to the international audience, as Samsung made it all the way to the final versus the mighty SKT. After struggling the first 2 games, Samsung started what looked like a reverse sweep for the ages, forcing a Game 5. But in that deciding game, disaster struck.
He gets devoured by Core JJ. He's in so much trouble. Flashes away to safety. Curtain call not up, and Core JJ dies. Why were they so far forward?
A devastating defeat, but Ruler's first year in competitive play had been a huge success and a sign of what was to come. The next year, it was time for the rematch once again in the World's Finals at the Bird's Nest in Beijing. But now the story was different, with Samsung Galaxy taking a commanding 2-0 lead. And when it looked like Faker and SKT would bounce back, Ruler saw a chance to redeem himself with one of the most famous plays in league history.
Galaxy push mid first. You can see the flash hold left. They've caught Faker. They've got the CC. The mid laner is down. The unkillable Demon King has done his life. Ruler on the Nexus. The upset is complete as the kills come through. The SKT dynasty is over.
A new king had been crowned, but Samsung Galaxy would quickly be brought down to earth after their triumph. 2018 is a year Ruler and LCK fans would like to forget. Samsung Galaxy had become Gen G, and in the world's group stage on home soil, they would finish last, behind RNG, Cloud9, and Vitality. The LCK era was over. Now, despite his success on the international stage in 2016 and 2017, Ruler was still chasing an LCK title. The next years saw him and Gen G finish second in Spring 2020 behind T1, second in Spring 2021 behind Damwon Kia, and second in Spring 2022 behind once again T1. Ruler kept falling at the last hurdle. But then, in the 2022 Summer Finals versus his arch nemesis T1, the legend finally got to lift the trophy he'd been chasing all this time.
They're going to try Atlas and Gen G. It might not have happened for them before. Ruler about to pick up his first LCK trophy.
Ruler spent 7 years with Gen G. He won 1 LCK title, 1 LCK season MVP, made Worlds 6 times, winning it once and being crowned Worlds Finals MVP in 2017. But after a 3-1 loss to DRX in a dramatic semifinals at the Madison Square Garden, his legendary career with Gen G came to an end. The team put their faith in the rookie Pays, while Ruler made the move to the LPL and powerhouse JDG. So far, 2023 has been a massive success for Ruler, and surrounded by the superstars of JDG, he's continuing an amazing career by winning the LPL, making his first ever MSI, and now just 1 win away from lifting the title.
What an unbelievable story. Ruler could be the second player to win LCK, LPL, MSI, and Worlds, the other being Deft. And just looking at that, Chronicler, it's giving us goosebumps.
Yeah, I thought I'd gotten over Ruler. A guy that is so, you know, oh, I'm the best. I'm going to dunk on everyone. Cry when he finally won his title. But seeing that, I need a moment.
I mean, it's incredible, right? And he's walking into the finals today as, I think, heavy favorites, right? And if he is able to win, as you say, Shox becomes only the second player to really pull off that achievement. Worlds, MSI, the 2 massive international events, and also taking a title in the 2 hardest leagues in the world by far. You have to think that that really does start shooting him up the rankings for potentially being the greatest AD carry of all time.
I'd love to talk about it. We have some time. Would he be for you?
I definitely think he's up there. I think you were kind of talking backstage about the fact that he's not only been so good, but it's been about how long he's been there as well. Also just the fact that the titles are starting to come through for him. He's won across both regions. It feels very difficult to not put him up there. And like, there are people that you'd look at, like the likes of Uzi, and people are like, oh, maybe this guy is up there. But the lack of titles, this is where, even though he hasn't really had that longevity now that he's left the scene, this is where he started to put question marks on him. But Ruler's kind of answering a lot of those questions.
Yeah, particularly in a role that's as mechanically intensive as AD carry, I think, to me, like being in the amongst the best AD carries in the world for what, like 6-7 years now is an incredible feat.
So is anyone willing to put their money where their mouth is and say if he wins today, that's definitely it, best bot laner ever?
Anh có yêu em không? Anh có yêu em không? Đừng lạc im